BBOR, Black Box Online Radio, May 12th, 2017. Who is there to guard the guards themselves? Who is there to guard the guards themselves? This quote comes from ancient Rome, from Juvenal. It resurfaced in recent years because of the man named Fred Murray, the father of Maura Murray, who went missing in Haverhill, New Hampshire in 2004. Who is there to guard the guards themselves, to watch over people in the government, in law enforcement, in administration, in the intelligence agencies? Who is there to guard the guards themselves? When people speak out against the government, they are often dispelled as conspiracy theorists, conspiracy nuts, and people who have no idea what they are talking about. Why is that so? It is because the mainstream media tries to present this culture that anyone who believes in a conspiracy theory is a nut. The term conspiracy nut has entered the English language, and that is a mistake. The first point we're going to use to reject this statement is conspiracy theories are not single statements. They are not reduced down to one sentence. You actually find that these theories are a wide spectrum of viewpoints. They are an enormous amount of ideas and possibilities, and some of them are true and some of them are false. Some of them are based on fact, and some of them are based on inaccurate conclusions. But the media often tries to ignore that some of them are based on facts, some of them are real, some of them are telling the truth. The biggest example of this is the Kennedy assassination, probably the largest hub of conspiracy theorism, the largest hub of any sort of investigation done by armchair detectives, amateur sleuths, whatever you want to call them, whatever title. The Kennedy assassination. You have this very large spectrum of viewpoints, all the way from the very smallest. Lee Harvey Oswald did not act alone, and there is a second shooter that nobody knows about, or at the least did not get caught, all the way to JFK was killed by the Illuminati for not going along with their plans. There are a wide number of viewpoints and possibilities. The other one that is very clear is 9/11. Again, you have a great number of statements. The smallest is the government had some prior knowledge and did not do anything, all the way to Dick Cheney sitting in a bunker masterminding the fall of the towers, and everything in the middle, everything in between. So there are so many statements going on, and some of them are based on fact, and some of them are inaccurate. And you really find that the mainstream media would like you to believe that all of them are inaccurate. They want you to believe that there is nothing there about the Kennedy assassination, that there is nothing there about 9/11. But in reality, the United States Congress even admitted that some form of conspiracy took place in the Kennedy assassination. They admitted this in the 70s. And when you learn about sort of people who became suspicious of the government's activities in 9/11, or at the very least, people who became suspicious about the terrorists involved in 9/11 and reported them to the government. We saw this very clearly with Zacarias Moussaoui, who was one of the conspirators for 9/11, who is not on the plane himself, but is now serving life imprisonment in Florida, in the Supermax. When he was reported to the FBI in a 13-page detailed letter, they ignored it. Now, cannot say any more than that, but they ignored it. And since then, they have used their authoritative power to try and make that go away. That is a conspiracy theory. That is what a conspiracy is all about. A conspiracy only means that two or more people are trying to conceal the truth, usually for a malicious purpose. And does the government not do that? Does the FBI not do that? Does the CIA not do that? And does law enforcement not do that? That will be our second point. Law enforcement. talking about the local police, talking about the state police, and as previously mentioned, the FBI. To anyone who watches a lot of crime shows or watches a lot of forensic shows or watches a lot of documentaries, you will find so many times that the police make major errors in their investigations and they use their administrative power to cover it up. The conspiracy theories that have some of the largest weight are the ones related to law enforcement. We saw this in the O.J. Simpson trial. They tampered with the blood evidence. We saw this in the Casey Anthony trial. They tampered with the computer search results. We saw this in the Amanda Knox trial. Again, they tampered with the blood evidence and they submitted false reports to the legal teams. We saw this in the Madeleine McCann investigation in Portugal. There are so many events when people who are in power are sort of using their own power to try and make the problems go away, to protect their own reputations, to protect their own interests, to further their own careers, and to not damage anything related to saving face. And that's bad. That's wrong. It should not happen. And when it comes to investigating these things, of course the mainstream media will tell you that anyone who investigates a conspiracy theory is a conspiracy nut. They don't want people digging into the government, unless they're the ones who do it. They don't want people asking questions, because then the general public might get smarter, and they don't want smart. They want you to be dumb, because then you're more easy to manipulate. Do we need to change the concept of conspiracy culture? Why call them conspiracy theorists to begin with? Why not call them what they are? Independent investigators. Social scientific researchers. If you were to bring a social scientific researcher on television to have a discussion about John F. Kennedy, maybe people would view that a little differently than conspiracy theorist. Conspiracy theorists have this very negative connotation associated with them, and maybe we can start to change that. View them as social scientific researchers, view them as independent investigators, and more importantly, definitely looking at people who are investigating law enforcement at the state and local level. Because, again, watch 10 seasons of Forensic Files. You will see so many cases where the local police made major errors and they just refused to admit it and it hindered an investigation. Watch 48 Hours when you see that so many crimes that went unsolved for a long period of time were because of shoddy police work that the local department tried to cover up to protect their reputation. Look at the Brandon Lawson case in Texas when there's a high possibility that the state troopers were involved in his disappearance. What is wrong with investigating? If there is nothing there, they should have nothing to hide. If there is nothing going on, then they shouldn't mind if someone starts asking questions. But in reality, again, this is not just a simple sentence. There are so many ideas being proposed. There are so many statements. There are so many possibilities, and a lot of them are accurate. That is the truth about conspiracy theories that the news does not want to tell you. There is a lot of truth going on. When you explore the concept of 9/11, the government being involved, it's not just one sentence. 9/11 was an inside job. The FBI made mistakes and they wanted to cover it up. The government made mistakes and they wanted to cover it up. Condoleezza Rice was testifying before Congress and did a terrible job of it. Is that not a conspiracy theory? Or let's use the new term. Is that not worth investigating in an independent manner? The questions I have for you are, should we change the culture associated with conspiracy theorists and view it in a different way, as social scientific research or independent investigations? Is there a particular theory that interests you that you have explored greatly? What is it? And what is one thing that you believe the government is not telling the truth about? You can list as many things as you like. However, something needs to change. And if they don't have anything to hide, they won't mind if we start asking more questions.